Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Wellness Conversations with me, Aisha. So, today I wanted to talk about food. And really, where it comes from is I did a post this week, and it was, food was never meant to be feared. And I thought that would be a great discussion to have because of our history with food. But before I even start that, I want to begin by asking you to just sit with this for a little bit. How do you feel about food? So how do you feel about food? And is there a bit of confusion as to what is good for you and what's not good for you? Because there's so much information out there and it can become so overwhelming. And I know that for many clients that I see, this is something that I hear all the time. It's like, is this good for me? Is that not good for me? Well, I was doing this and that worked, but then it didn't work. And so I tried this. And so there's a lot of confusion. Is there fear to do with food? Because as we know that in our society right now, it's unfortunate, but a lot of the food that we eat is not real food because it's packaged, because there's toxins in it, our fruit and vegetables are sprayed, our animals are not treated that great. So there's a lot of fear associated with food. But not only that, there's also been a medical campaign really years ago to do with, low fat, cholesterol is bad for us. You're going to get a heart attack. So there's a lot of these fear-based ideas with food as well. Is there restriction with certain foods? Is there overwhelm? Like it all gets too much, I don't know what to eat anymore. I'm suffering with bloating and this and that. And so it all becomes too overwhelming. So, what I'm trying to say with this is, this is such a broad topic, it's such a big topic, but food has become something to fear, something to control, and even something to police. This was never its role, you know. Food is meant to nourish us, it's meant to inform the body and to support healing. Food was never meant to create anxiety. And this is really why I wanted to start this conversation today. So, when we talk a little bit about the awareness of food, right? So, I'm talking about real food and fake food, or shall I say, ultra processed food, and all of the packaging and also the marketing to do with food as well. So when food has been processed in any way, we must understand that that processing affects the quality of the food when we eat it. It takes away nutrients, but also chemicals and toxins that are added to the food in order to maintain its stability is extremely toxic to us, right? And I think a lot of us listening to this conversation knows this. And a lot of the packaged foods as well, the marketing goes that it's healthy for you and it's so good for you and it's got all these vitamins and this is what it does. But the reality of it is it was processed, it was packaged, nutrients may have been put in it, but when it goes into your body, it's a different story. It's not bioavailable. A lot of people have intolerances to this food, so it creates bloating and discomfort, and later on leading to more problems down the line. So I suppose the marketing campaign is very well marketed, but unfortunately it doesn't deliver what it says it's going to deliver. And also even our fruit and vegetables, right? So the soil that it's planted in, it's not the same soil that was here centuries and centuries ago. And it's been sprayed, the vegetables and fruit, they've been genetically altered. There's a gentleman called, what is his name? Alan Savory, yes. And there's others too that has done a lot of work with regards to the soil and how depleted our soil is on the planet and what a big problem it actually is. And he has done a lot of projects and research and on how to actually get the soil back so it's more nutrient dense, and when the soil is a lot more healthy, then the plants grow better. our animals can feed on this grass, these plants, and they're healthier. And when we plant stuff in the soil, it's much more healthier and nutrient dense. So I'd advise you to go and have a look at a lot of the work of Alan Savory. And basically, we've got to understand that when the soil is healthy, us as humans are healthier as well. When the soil is depleted, the food can no longer carry the intelligence our body needs. It just comes down to that. And the way we farmed, mass farming, agricultural companies, agriculture over the years has really damaged our soil. And that's a very long topic to go down to. And also, when we think about proper nutrition, right? So, when we think about what it is that our body needs as human beings, it would make sense that the foods that we need to eat need to be as close to nature as possible. So, one of the biggest studies that was done was also by Dr. Weston A. Price. You may have heard of him. So back in the day, he was a dentist, and he saw the correlation between teeth and nutrition. And he saw that the way we eat is really, really important for our overall health, but our teeth health as well. So he decided to go around the world. So he went to Africa, Asia, Europe, all of these countries, but he went to these places that were not disturbed by Western society. And all of his findings have been put in a book called Nutrition and Human Degeneration. It's a wonderful book to have. There's some images in there as well. And basically what he found when he went to all of these places is that a lot of these people were healthy, they were happy, the children were happy and healthy and full of energy, they had wider jaws, they were really beautiful. And he noticed that they didn't have too many teeth issues. And so he wanted to study them to see, what are they doing? And they ate very close to nature. Like sometimes some of these people were 60 to 90% eating animal products. So whether it's fish, seafood, wild caught, obviously, and cattle, where they'd move around, like in Africa. Some of the African tribes will move around with their cattle. And these people were extremely healthy, but the cattle were out on pasture. So in these places, the animals were out on pasture. They were eating what they're supposed to eat. They were getting sunlight. And the people worked really in harmony with nature. And so when they ate the animal, they'd eat all parts of the animal. So the fat, the brain, the liver, the organ meats. The organ meats are so important. Having liver, it's almost like having a supplement in the body. The nutrients that's in liver is just bioavailable. So you're getting all these micronutrients that the body absolutely loves and needs. And in fact, as a GAPS practitioner, which stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome and Gut and Physiology Syndrome, my main focus is on healing and seeding the gut, because that's the cause of a lot of ailments. And it's amazing to me, especially coming from a medical perspective, because all my life, I was a registered nurse, and now understanding that you can heal the body through food, it blows my mind. So, for example, seeing some of my clients that have autoimmune disease and see them not go off all of their medications over time and have healed their body through food, through a nutritional protocol, through food. So I'm not talking about 1,000 supplements and things like that, because the industry for supplements, when I studied nutrition years ago, I've just seen what's happened with the supplements and all of this. And a lot of these supplements may not be very good for you. The form that it's in is not really readily bioavailable in the body. There are some that are amazing and really great, but for me, that's always a short-term solution. What you want to do is you want to make sure the food that you're putting into your body is what's going to heal you and sustain you over time. And absolutely, certainly you can do it, because I've seen it. So this that I'm talking about, Dr. Weston A. Price. So what he found in these little communities of people that were not disturbed by Western society, they would prize themselves on eating all parts of the animal. They had wild vegetables and seasonal fruit, some of them, and they'd prepare things in a certain way. If they had to have any sort of grain or legumes, which, if they didn't have real food and so on, if the way they planted. So I remember one group of people in Switzerland, he found them really healthy. And when they would plant their because they'd make this proper sourdough rye bread as a community. So they'll have like a communal bakery sort of, or place where they make this bread, and they'd plant it in a certain way. They'd use the thatching from their roofs on top of the soil, and they'd do all these different things. And when they'd plant it, they'd fermented for long periods of time. So they had a process on how to make these grains more digestible within the body, because they knew that we couldn't just have it, that the body couldn't tolerate it. And what do we do these days? We take all of these grains that have been planted in this depleted soil, and they've been sprayed with all of these things, and then we just prepare it and make it into breads, and we put things in it to make it soft and all of this. But it's not nutrient dense. The nutrients are not bioavailable in the body, and in fact it's creating a lot of inflammation in the body. So so Dr. Weston A. Price did a lot of amazing work, and I would really advise you to go and have a look at his book, Human Nutrition, and Human Degeneration. But they also, the thing to remember is when you look at these people that he was studying, they ate really healthy food. Their food was not toxic. The nutrients were bioavailable. It didn't cause inflammation in the body. And therefore, these people were healthy and thriving. And when Western society came closer by and introduced, say, flour to them and things like this, they'd start getting Western illnesses. When they'd go out to Western society, they'll get Western illnesses. But they'd come back and they'd get healthy again when they go on their natural diet. So that's really interesting to see. And when you look, I'm starting to understand now more and more, especially in the work that I do over time, is that a lot of our illnesses in modern society is due to toxicity in the body. And the more that we can address that toxicity in the body and help the body get rid of the toxins and then start healing and nourishing the body, that seems to be the key to healing. But because, if you've got, say, perhaps autoimmune disease or a spectrum disorder or something like this, each person's quite different. It depends on the level of toxicity in the body and how much damage has been caused, as to how long it will take for them to heal. Because healing, I've noticed, is a journey. It's a journey of ups and downs. And as you support the body more and more, the body strengthens and heals. And it's remarkable to have that deep connection with your body and sort of become so intuitive and know, this is what my body needs now. And when you start seeing the difference and feeling the difference, it's actually quite amazing. And the funny thing too is when you think of our ancestors, they weren't counting calories. They were building their health. They were nourishing the body. They were happier, And when I'm talking about gut health too and food, I want to share a little bit about my journey too, As I said, I was a registered nurse for many years, and one of the big reasons why I went and studied naturopathic nutrition was I used to have really bad gut issues for many years. This was years ago before I started studying nutrition. Oh gosh, it was way before my daughter was born, so she's 18 now. So yeah, it was years ago. And I used to have what they would describe now probably as IBS. But if you think what IBS is, it's medically what we do, right? We take a whole lot of symptoms, we put them together in a box, and we say, okay, this is IBS, now I can treat you. So I used to have years of bloating, of cramping and pain and explosive diarrhea and I could go to the toilet a couple of times a day. Certain foods, like I remember there'd be memories of myself and my husband going to a restaurant, and I'd start eating, and then I'd be like, nah, we need to go home immediately. And because I'd just have an upset tummy, and I was so sensitive to so many things, and I didn't know what was wrong. And I remember seeing somebody, a doctor, and they were like, oh no, you're fine, just take this. And it really occurred to me that this can't be the solution. Just simply taking a medication to help me can't be a solution. And so I remembered I went and started studying nutrition. And it was a crazy time because I was working full time as an RN, working night duty and so on, and also studying for a couple of years. But it transformed me, changed my life and my health completely, and really opened my eyes because it's the first time I started asking, wow, so food does really affect our health. Wow. So, and I remember I was working in a cardiac ward then. I worked in a cardiac ward for many years. And so seeing things very medically. And then I started realizing, oh my goodness, a lot of the patients that are coming into our cardiac ward for stents and all of these things was all preventable. It was all preventable through food and lifestyle. And so for me, what happened is, when I studied nutrition, I started realizing, oh my goodness, I think I'm sensitive to this or sensitive to that. And then I started doing all of these because we had to do these assignments anyway. And they were like, you've got to try what happens when this happens or when you take away dairy or whatever. And I started doing all of these things and my gut started healing and healing. And obviously I could take the herbs and the things that I needed to get my gut to heal more and more. And it changed my life forever. And through the years, though, as we all know, everything was pushed very much towards plant-based. And so I was vegetarian for a while, and obviously eating all organic and things like this. But I didn't know the full story and I didn't understand the full story. And it only happened, so we've been having the colon hydrotherapy clinic for about 8 years now. So I remember during the start of it, and even when I did colon hydrotherapy before that, and even a few years ago before that, I noticed this thing that was happening. Like people would come in and they'd say, I'm healthy, I eat plant-based and I do this and I do this, but I don't know why I've got this wrong with me and I get bloated and I'm very constipated or whatever it may be. And I started seeing this common theme is that people had what I'd call like gut dysbiosis. And it's just a word that says, and that refers to an imbalance in the gut flora. So the microbiome's out of balance. And I saw this very commonly, very severely in people that were plant-based, especially for a long time. And it started opening my eyes to more. And I remember thinking, this can't be a way. I wanted to find something that worked, that made sense, and that worked long term. So I didn't want anything about advertising, where everybody's pushing a certain narrative, oh, you've got to eat this way. And so I went down the rabbit hole and coming to the understanding that, years ago, the agricultural company and the health department sat together and it was all about, how can we make this feasible for us? And so they're like, okay, low fat diet, 3 meals a day, encourage people to have cereals, packaged food, and all of this campaign happened. And now we are where we are, where we've been, we are sicker than we ever have been because we moved away from natural foods, from whole foods. And so during this time, what also happened for me is I started realizing, okay, when there's gut issues or when there's illness, it doesn't start now. It started way back then. So, for example, when a child is in their mother's uterus, when they come out the vaginal canal, they're getting a lot of her flora. And that determines a lot of what's going to happen for the rest of their lives. And the first 20 days of your life is so crucial because that's when all of that flora is developing. That, like I said, determines what's going to happen for the rest of your life. For you with regards to your gut function and therefore your health. So commonly in the clinic I'll see grandmother, mother, daughter, and because it doesn't start with you. And then I started going back to my history when I started learning all of these things, and I realized, oh my goodness, when I was really young, my dad worked in the medical field. So anytime we were ill, we'd go to the doctor and we'd get, then they were giving these antibiotics via injection. We'd get the injection and we were given antibiotics a lot. And then through my childhood, I had a lot of teeth issues. So I'd be in and out of the dentist. And it all started making sense to me now. Like, oh my goodness, now I see the pattern. And then I used to always suffer with hay fever, allergies, sinusitis. And in fact, I remember when I was studying nutrition, I used to always take medications for sinusitis or hay fever. And it's like, when all the puzzles start fitting together and you're like, oh my goodness, now I see what's happened through all the years in my life and why I was the way I was when I healed my gut. It's because it starts then, and your body is amazing because your body will compensate and compensate and compensate until eventually it just goes, no more. And then something will really happen severely to get you to take notice. So basically, that was my journey. And this is why I dedicate so much of my time in my life to helping people see that there is other ways to heal. Because a lot of people may feel that the only option is the medical alternative. And I'm not saying that there's not a place for medicine, because there certainly is. But I just feel like a lot of it is out of balance. And I think a lot of people are aware of this now. So there are other options and other ways to heal the body in a more natural and holistic way that can actually be a beautiful journey of healing. So, yeah, I feel like I did everything that I was told back then, and yet my body was asking for something deeper. And I'm sharing this with you because I know, especially from the work that I do, and I've at this point worked with thousands of people, I know that everybody has some sort of journey of how they got to the place where they got to. And I just want you to know that no matter where you are with your health, there is absolutely something that you can do to help heal the body. So, as you can see, this is why I've become so passionate about nutrition as a form of healing. Well, actually, the approach to healing should be nutrition and the whole all other aspects. So, for example, going within, doing meditation, changing your lifestyle, being out in nature. It's a combination of everything. Nutrition plays such an important role, though, and it's because everything does start at the level of the gut, and we must understand that when we go to heal the gut, everything in the body can start falling into place. So, I want to go back to what we were talking about, the importance of food as healing as opposed to being in fear of food. I find that when we have that knowledge, it's such a big power that we have. And once we start executing the knowledge, that's the ultimate power. So, starting to tune in with your body and starting to listening to what the body needs, what the gut needs, what you will find is that the body always wants a more natural way to eat, a more simple way to eat that allows the food that you're eating to then nourish and heal you. So, if I had to break it down a little bit, so, I don't want to go into too much detail of what to eat, what not to eat, and so on. But just to break it down, when we're healing the gut, the foods that really nourish and heal the gut and heal the lining of the gut. In gaps, we use a lot of stocks. So I'm not talking about broth. Broth can be very high in glutamic acid, and when you're healing the gut, not that it's bad. When the gut is healed, it's great. But when you want to heal the gut, we stick with stock, right? So we make soups and stock from meat, from chicken, from you could even do fish, but we're making sure that the meat, the chicken and that we used are pasture raised. And when we're having fish, it's wild caught. And so we do a lot of the stocks and the soups, but we also do casseroles and stews and so on, because the slow cooking of the meat and the organic vegetables and that is actually what's going to create healing in the body. Our meat is our nourishes. That's what helps to nourish our body. Our stomach has hydrochloric acid, and it knows exactly what to do to break down animal products. So whether it's really good quality eggs from pasture-raised chickens to any sort of animal food, meat, chicken, fish, and the fats from these foods are really important. So whether it's ghee, lard, tallow, goose fat, duck fat, coconut oil, all of these are actually really good fats for us to have to help heal the body, because every cell in our body has a phospholipid layer. Our brain is made out of fats. We need these fats. They're actually essential and really, really important and good for us. And our vegetables and our fruit, seasonal fruit, you want to make sure that they're organic. No amount of washing gets those pesticides out. And when you're trying to heal the body, it's almost like putting antibiotics in the body every day. So we want to get organic vegetables and fruit. And in the beginning, we cook them a lot just to make them more easy for the body to digest. And that's our cleansers, our fruit and vegetables and so on are our cleansers for the body. And then the next very important thing is fermented products. So with GAPS, we make all of our fermented products. So whether it's yogurt, whether it's sauerkraut, fermented vegetables, sour cream, all of this, we do this ourselves. And the reason being is because when we ferment it ourselves, we know exactly what's in there and how long we fermented it for. So we know that the benefits are going to be absolutely unbelievable. And that is really at the core of what's healing the body. But we've got to start that really gently, depending on what's going on for you, right? Because when we're having these fermented foods, they recolonizing that microbiome, but they can also create what we call a die-off, which means they're killing off all of that pathogenic bacteria and yeast, which can leave you feeling quite sick. So for some of my clients, if they've got autoimmune disease, let's say, they may be in bed because they feel so unwell because they had that die-off. So that's why we take it very slowly and gently so that you don't have so much of that discomfort. It's actually a good thing that there's a die-off, but we want to be gentle about it so that you can still go on with your life, and you're not, so badly affected. And then another part of it too is, we've become so addicted to certain things. And I find that when we become addicted to things like sugar or caffeine or stimulants, it's because the body wants some sort of hit. So some people wake up feeling really exhausted and they're like, oh, I need my coffee for the day. Why? So we've got to start asking ourselves, why have we become so dependent on these stimulants? Why do we need something to pep us up? What are we doing in our life that's making the body feels like it needs to have something to give you that energy? And so we've got to look at that, and we've got to look at, okay, what are we eating? What's affecting the body that's making us feel sluggish? And a lot of the time it is, like I said in the very beginning, it's toxins in the body. And when we have a system of removing toxins from the body so that the elimination pathways are working really well, the body can be a lot happier and healthier. And then we don't need to have things like sugars and caffeine and so on. In fact, I'm waiting for in the process of creating another ebook, and this is going to be about coming off sugar, because I came off sugar a few years ago, and oh my goodness, it was like coming off a drug. I didn't know about it until that point. I was like, I eat pretty healthy and I'm organic, but I realized that every day I was having some sort of sugar just to like, oh, well, I eat really well, so I'll have this. And you don't realize that it's addictive, that you actually doing that every day. And so there came a point where I was like, okay, I really want to stop sugar. And that was a whole other journey, and I'll do a whole other talk about that. But so that's really quite exciting, because I really want to help people with that. I get a lot of clients come in that are quite addicted to sugar, and especially for women that are perimenopausal, like myself, it's so important to know this, because you've got to heal the liver. You've got to have the liver working optimally for you during that time in your life so that it can be a beautiful transition as opposed to a lot of struggle. So I suppose the core of what I'm talking about today is that when we're bringing foods into our life, into our body, we must understand that the more wholesome they are, the more natural they are, the more that they're not processed or packaged too much, we know that we're going to be giving our body something that it recognizes and that's going to allow it to thrive. So, sort of for today, just think of it this way. When you're having your food, ask yourself, do I know how this food got to me? What amount of processing did it take to get this food to come to me? And was it in a package? Where did I get it from? And when you start asking yourself these questions, you start realizing, oh my goodness, this may not even be food really. It's stuff that was put together so that I can eat for my enjoyment, but it's not sustaining me. And once you start eating for true health and healing, actually life becomes so much more simple. Because I do hear a lot of people tell me, especially when they come in for nutritional consultations or something like that, they say, I'm too busy, I don't have time to make that, and it just all sounds too much, it sounds too overwhelming. The truth of the matter is, it can all seem overwhelming when you start introducing yourself to this information, but when you take it at your own pace, for example, you may say, okay, I'm just going to make some soup and just get used to making the soups. And once you get that down packed, you realize, oh my goodness, it saved me a couple of days of cooking because that meal will cover a couple of days, and you can even put some maybe in the freezer. And then when you'd say, okay, I'm going to try making the yogurt or the sour cream, you'll realize that when you make it, it covers you for another week or two. Or if you're going to make your sauerkraut, when you make it, it's going to cover you for a couple of weeks. And so what you'll find over time is that you're having less preparation because you've already got stuff there ready to go. And life becomes so much simpler and easier. And cooking becomes so enjoyable because you want to try all these different new foods and the fresh herbs from the garden, because now you're eating real food. And what tends to happen quite often too is you end up probably eating about 2 meals a day because you're so satiated. It's so satisfying that you feel quite full and you don't really want to eat all the time. And it's actually really good to give your body that break. It's really good for your body to have a break of not eating so that the gut can really heal. And I find also, people that come to me and say, I don't like this food and I don't like that. Oh, I don't eat that meat or whatever. And what starts happening is when you start eating this way, it's like the taste buds shift and your body starts remembering, and suddenly your taste for food changes and you start loving certain things. It's quite incredible when the body starts healing what actually happens to the body. And, the most important thing of all of this is food was never meant to be feared. It was meant to bring us home. And if you think of our ancestors, ancient ancestors, cooking was done together in a community, and they'd come together and eat together, and it was a joyous time. It was a time of coming together. It wasn't an addiction. It was like a celebration of life and of nature, and it was a thanksgiving. It was like they were so grateful for the animals that have come to give their life to them, and they're so grateful for the plants that were growing in that season, or the seasonal fruit. And the seasonal fruits were like this luxury that they could have. It was really, food was a form of celebration. And even while I'm saying this, remember that there's nothing to fix, there's nothing to force. I really like that. This is all about, as we learn better, we do better. For example, like in my case, I didn't know this stuff, especially during my medical time in the early years. I didn't know a lot of this. And as I started learning better, I slowly started doing better, And I fully understand, when I get people that come in and their gut is not well and they're unhealthy and they realize it's the diet and the lifestyle. I totally get how overwhelming it can feel to make a change. But just remember, you can just do it one step at a time. And you know what? Your body will start to feel the difference and you'll start feeling better. And it's just the most amazing journey to feel better and better and better. And one of the things we always say in clinic is like, people don't know how good they can feel. People really do not know how good they can feel. And I suppose, I am lucky enough to have a colon hydrotherapy clinic, so I can do colonics and feel the benefit of it. It just really, and it's not something that needs to be done all the time. I'm always about balance. It's really about balance. I've actually at times had to tell some people like, okay, I think you've had enough colonics now. You need to have a break. Because the body can feel so amazing once we support it properly. and nobody can be 100% either. We're living in a world, we're human beings, but it's really what you do most of the time. Certainly for my clients that are on the GAPS nutritional protocol, they're healing from autoimmune diseases and things like this. They've got to sort of really stay that course to really heal the gut. But what Dr. Natasha McBride found, who started the GAPS nutritional protocol, is it takes typically about 2 years for the gut to heal, and then after that we start to reintroduce certain things and see how the body likes it. And certainly if there is autoimmune disease or mental illness or spectrum disorders, it's very individual. So a lot of people will go over that 2 years. It'll take a bit longer, but yeah, when the gut heals, the body feels amazing. And then what starts to happen is the nervous system starts to calm down. Because don't forget that when we have foods that are nourishing the body and that's healing, it's really calming to the nervous system, because the body's now not in this space of trying to heal whatever's happening, trying to deal with the toxins. The gut is not so damaged that it's affecting the neurotransmitters. So things like serotonin and dopamine are hugely affected by gut dysbiosis, and because something like 80% of your serotonin is produced in the gut, and 40% of your dopamine neurotransmitters. So serotonin is like that happy hormone, and dopamine helps with your motivation and things like this. So once you start healing the gut, there's definitely the gut-brain connection, and but the whole body benefits, the whole nervous system benefits. Our body's so amazing, and I'm just in awe of our body, because I've seen people that have been affected really severely with toxins in their body and with things that have happened to them in their lives, and the body keeps going, and the body keeps trying to heal itself, and the body keeps compensating. So it's almost like your body just wants you to be healthy and good. How great is that? It's like your body wants you to be healthy. So when you start doing the things to nourish it, you'll start feeling the benefits, and it's incredible when the body really does heal itself. But remember that healing is a journey, and it's a journey of ups and downs, and it does incorporate the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And so I think I'll leave it there today. And I've done a meditation to accompany this, and it's a beautiful meditation to do. I actually recorded it just before I did this talk, and it was just so beautiful when I listened to it. And it really is about helping the gut to heal. And remember that that's the core of where a lot of conditions start. And when we can have a practice with the visualization and the sound frequencies and the meditation, and we can do that regularly, we actually, because our body listens, right? We are consciousness, so we can talk to our body, we can talk to the cells of our body, and that intention, that love, that vibration goes into the body, and it has incredible benefits. So I do hope that when you're finished with this talk, you can listen to the meditation and enjoy it from this perspective. I know I've talked a lot today. I actually went over what I wanted to talk about, the amount of time I wanted to talk about. We're almost at 40 minutes now, but I feel like it's a very important conversation. I could talk so much more about so many different things that I've talked about today, and I probably might break it up into a few different talks. But please do send me, there's an option now to send me a text message once you've listened to the talks. If you want me to talk about something specific, or you have any questions, please do send that to me, and I can incorporate it in the next conversation that I have. So thank you so much for listening and for staying all this time to listen, and I hope you benefited from the information. Have a beautiful day. Bye.